I am suffering from a character crisis in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Ever since Smash came out, I've mainly only played one character, but with how large Smash's cast is, could I be missing out on someone? I want to give every character a chance at becoming my main. This week, I played as Duck Hunt Duo, a strange mid-tier that I realized has unlimited potential for creative play. This is a series on my blog and this YouTube channel, so like the video and subscribe if you'd like to join me as I go through my character crisis. What started off as a way to sell plastic knickknacks to consumers eventually led to the inclusion of Duck Hunt Duo as a playable character in Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. Duck Hunt had a totally unique playstyle, which was interesting to see, but made him difficult to pick up and play. This, combined with Duck Hunt not being an IP as iconic as Mario or Zelda, meant that the player base for Duck Hunt mains was never going to be the largest. But for the few players who took the time to learn how to play Duck Hunt, they would soon realize that he's actually one of the sickest characters ever made in platform fighter history. Duck Hunt Duo is a misleading term, because in reality, the fighter is composed of three characters: the dog, the duck, and the player shooting at the screen. Duck Hunt's neutral B, Can, is practically another character in the same vein as Ice Climbers and Luma. Without proper usage of Can, Duck Hunt is a mediocre character with average to bad moves, and feels very unsatisfying to play as. But once you learn how to use Can, the level of creativity that is possible is unparalleled for just one move. Shortly after Ultimate's release, Duck Hunt would receive his highest placing at a major tournament, with Raito piloting them to a third-place finish at Umebura 2019. However, ever since the best Duck Hunt player in the world stopped maining them to pick up Banjo and Kazooie, Duck Hunt hasn't seen a placement higher than 13th. While he may have a small player base, this may actually be to their advantage. Smash Ultimate is a huge game, and as a result, even those who play this game professionally are unfamiliar with the Duck Hunt matchup. This gives these players an edge that they wouldn't get by playing a popular character, like Roy or Palutena. Even though the community may have decided he's nothing more than a mid-tier, mains of the character know that the potential for Duck Hunt has barely been scratched. The very first thing you should spend your time learning is how to control the Can. This move is an essential part of his kit, and once you learn how to control it, the sky's the limit. Whenever you throw out a Can, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, gravity affecting the Can changes based on how many times you've pinged it. It starts off floaty, but will eventually drop like a rock after you hit it enough times. The next thing to learn is how each of your moves will affect the knockback of the Can. Generally speaking, most attacks will make the next ping move the Can in the direction it got launched, but some moves such as back air and up tilt will allow you to ping the Can backwards, which will help you schmicks unsuspecting opponents. Can is incredibly versatile in what it can do. Use it to combo, ledge trap, edge guard, force air dodges, control the stage, cover your laggy smash attacks, shield next to it to blow up aggressive opponents, and even escape combos. Because Can comes out on the first frame after you press the B button, you can mash it during combos to explode both players. Frame 1 options are extremely rare in Ultimate, with most characters having to settle for their fastest escape option being a frame 3 air dodge. Can is only limited by your imagination. Duck Hunt is more than just one button, though. Another very important move in his kit that is difficult to use effectively is his side special, Clay Pigeon. Unlike many other moves in Smash Bros., Clay Pigeon is not a move you can mash with mindlessly. Once thrown out, this move literally takes more than a second for you to be actionable, which means if you whiff it, there's nothing you can do to stop your opponent from hitting you. The reason this move is so important is because it is one of the strongest combo tools in the entire game. If you hit them with Clay Pigeon, you get to control when it detonates, which traps the opponent in hit stun for a very long time. Follow it up with any move you want, even another Clay Pigeon, and carry them all the way to the blast zone. The Clay Pigeon also spawns on frame 1, which means that Duck Hunt has access to not just one, but 2 frame 1 options. Talk about privilege. Duck Hunt is an unpopular character though, and I feel this has to do with how weird he is to play at first. If you spend even just 10 minutes in training mode, it honestly feels like unlocking DLC for another character in the game. I'm excited to share what is possible with this character, so I hope you'll enjoy this combo video I made. For the last few weeks, I've gone 2-2 at every tournament I have entered, which is great consistency to see, despite my character crisis. That being said, my last two characters all share the quality of being high tiers or top tiers. Duck Hunt, despite how much potential he may have, is probably not his character who can be placed in the same tier as Steve and Roy. His complex and unique zoning tools make him more difficult to play as, compared to someone like Incineroar. Will my streak of going 2-2 finally end, now that I'm playing as the gimmicky mid-tier? Let's find out. Beat is one of my closest friends in the Smash scene, and is also the person who designed the logo for Character Crisis. We're both around the same skill level, which makes any set between us incredibly fun, albeit stressful. I take Game 1, keeping him guessing with all of my different projectiles. Game 2, I have the lead, but an instant pin catches me off guard and kills me from center stage, swinging the momentum in his favor for the rest of the game. I decide to take him back to Pokemon Stadium, but because of my gunman, he was able to extend his up smash long enough to catch my tech in place. After that, I severely struggled to take his first stock, and end up getting my shield broken. I was unable to mount a comeback after that. Despite Game 3, I felt like I was playing really well, although I definitely relied too much on Clay Pigeon as a neutral tool, despite how laggy it is. A new player to our scene, Arthur's dog dad got to fight me, another dog lover. Pikachu's Thunder Jolts proved to be quite a nuisance in the matchup, since they could knock out my gunmen. I was able to play around this by running in front of my gunmen to protect them while they fired. Another annoying thing about this matchup was Pikachu's ability to low profile my Clay Pigeon, nerfing one of my best combo starters. Even though Pikachu may be a losing matchup for Duck Hunt, I believe that matchup on familiarity played a large part in carrying me to victory. I wasn't sure who Electric Wind Girlfriend would start off with, but when they picked Meta Knight, I was a little scared. Meta Knight is a character that traditionally does really well into floaty characters, and can edgeguard really well. However, I learned that Duck Hunt's small size was enough to escape his combos, and I had enough mix-ups when recovering to make it back to stage. Game 2, he switches to Donkey Kong, and the shift and tempo caught me off guard at first. At the end of Game 2, I saw a Clay Pigeon connect, but he was able to super armor through it, and destroy my stock for it. In Game 3, I realized I could abuse his large hurt box, and I was able to land Clay Pigeon after Clay Pigeon, leading into huge combos, and stifling all of his approaches. Phasian is a top 20 player in Utah, but going into this, I knew I had a chance to win. Duck Hunt has a favorable matchup against Samus, thanks to all of my projectiles blocking hers. Things start off incredibly well, as I practically get a 0 to death. Phasian then plays his advantage state really well though, and brings it back to even by the final stock. It's super close, but it catches me off guard with an up throw to take the first game. By the time Game 2 had started, our set had actually gathered a small crowd. People were cheering for me to beat Phasian, which was awesome, but I think it actually hurt me in the end. I held the lead for the entire game, and almost won, but I flubbed my input and got an up air instead of fair. Normally this wouldn't matter, but I started playing worse, knowing that a crowd was watching me, and I made mistake after mistake, which ended up costing me the set. Despite my tournament nerves getting in the way at the end, I was honestly playing really well, and I'm happy that I was able to continue my streak of going 2-2, even if this time it was with the wacky mid-tier.
Final results.
Duck Hunt was a character that intimidated me at first. I was under the impression that he would be incredibly difficult to get used to, considering he was such a weird character in the first place. Once I got used to controlling the can, everything else about him began to make sense. Unlike many other projectile-based characters in the game, Duck Hunt has a lot of control over when and where their projectiles are put to use. This brings a very unique element to his zoning that lets you mix up the timing of your opponent and control the stage in a very powerful way. Him being such an uncommon character in the meta also worked to my advantage, because hardly anyone knew how to fight against them. I got to throw out so many Clay Pigeons that weren't safe simply because my opponent didn't know it was so laggy. Up air is a criminally underrated move that can combo, juggle, and kill. I'd even go so far to say it's a top 5 up air in the game. With access to 2 frame 1 options on top of being small and floating, it's nearly impossible to combo him back. Duck Hunt has a lot more going for him than I initially expected, and I found him to be incredibly fun to learn how to play as. I don't know if I'd be confident enough to claim that he isn't mid-tier, but I wouldn't be surprised if players like Raito, Fawn, or maybe someone else were able to make deep bracket runs in the future. My character crisis doesn't end with Duck Hunt, though.
Just a small announcement, I'll be going to Crown 3 this year. It's practically happening in my backyard, so I'll be there all weekend. If you see me, feel free to come up and say hi, and ask me for some games. I'd love to play. There won't be a poll this week, as I already have plans on who I want to main for Crown. Here's a hint. They know a thing or two about royalty. I wouldn't want Twitter choosing some weirdo for me to play, like, I don't know, Olimar. Oh, hold on. I've got a task that I need to take care of.
Who turned off the lights? See you on Tuesday.